I see someone's put a question in the queue that I want to use because I think it'll kick us really neatly to the next part. For UC Fast says, what about the opportunity to pay off the house and have the financial security of having no rent or mortgage payment, just insurance, property taxes, and any required maintenance? So I know that was the next one. Is that an okay way to
Yeah, no,
transition?
that's super. Brian, Stoffel, why don't you answer that one first from your perspective? Because I think we all have a different take on it.
Sure. So, I mean, in general, I think it's a great idea if you can do it in a way that makes sense. For me, first of all, I was lucky enough to get it in 2017 is when we bought our house. Now, compared to today's rates, it might not seem so great, but 4.2% is still pretty good. So we can afford to make the payments, but the big thing is to pay off the whole house would require taking a lot out of our retirement funds and incurring penalties to do that. And it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense for us to do that. We also like the flexibility that not doing that provides us, so that if an emergency should hit or something terrible would happen, then we could pull out if that were the case. If our situation changes, then that might change the math behind it. But for us, we're comfortable continuing to pay. Like I said, it's a very reasonable rate, and it doesn't stress our family to have to pay that out. So I don't have a problem with doing that. But I know other people choose to view it a little bit differently, like Mr. Feroldi.
Yeah, the age-old, do I pay off my mortgage early or do I invest? Talking to a group of investors here, but I paid off my mortgage and I'm very happy that I did so, because to me, I like the idea of permanently lowering one of my fixed costs forever, and not having to make a mortgage payment is incredibly freeing. And I don't have to ever worry about making enough money in any given month to cover that. Now, I think the way that you pay off your mortgage is actually important too. A lot of people that choose to pay off their mortgage put money from into an extra payment on their mortgage every month. And what you're doing is you're taking liquid cash and you're putting it into an illiquid form. And that because once it's in there, you can't get it back without having to go through a whole bunch of paperwork and all that kind of stuff. So if you're interested in paying off your mortgage, I'm a big fan of just putting it into a separate savings account and having it grow, and then knocking it out once your balance on that is bigger than the balance of the payment, because you can always use that as like an extra big emergency fund in case something was to happen with your life. But if people say, I'm never paying off my mortgage, I totally get that. And I have absolutely no problem with that, because mathematically paying off your mortgage early is stupid, especially given where rates are today. But I didn't pay off my mortgage because I thought it was a good math decision. I paid it off because I thought it was a good life decision. I love how Morgan Housel frames it. He says, I want to become financially unbreakable. And if you pay off your mortgage, you are a heck of a lot closer to becoming financially unbreakable than you would be if you had it.
Yeah, Brian, it's funny you talk about how you would go about paying off your house. And that's what we're doing right now. We have a 30-year mortgage, 2.9%, 30-year fixed, and I'm paying enough off. I put enough in every month to where we'll pay it off in 10 years. And your idea about taking the money and putting it into a savings account and letting it grow, I was like, oh, maybe that's a good idea. And then I thought about, once it became big enough, I'd want to invest it. So I would totally, it's sort of a little mind trick on myself that I would totally take that money and, oh, that's money. The market's down. Let me put it into stocks. And I think that's part of why when we came into this home, we could have paid cash for it, but I didn't want to sell enough stock and pull money out of the market that was doing just fine all by itself. So we pulled enough out that we could put down a decent down payment, and we have a 30-year mortgage, so I can totally at any month go in and cut off that extra if anything starts to look bad, I can cut off that extra payment and free up some cash.
Mhm.
So
That's another way to do it, by the way. If you wanted to put money into a separate account and just invest it, and then once it got to be a certain size, say, all right, now it's going to go into the house, because as long as you can be completely flexible with the timing, right?
yeah, well, Jason Hall is doing something similar to that. He's taking his extra payment, instead of putting it into his mortgage, he's putting it into dividend bearing stocks, and then taking the dividends and putting that into his mortgage. So that's a
See, this to me, this is and we could have a whole nother show on extra ways of paying off your mortgage early. Because Brian, what I love about what you did, Brian Feroldi, is that is the flexibility. Like you said, it's like you had a huge emergency fund, and then when the time came, you were not obligated to use that to pay off your house. You could if you chose to, and if it made sense for you, and it did. And what you're talking about, Brian Withers with Jason Hall, it's another great way of thinking about it. Now I've got to crowdsource a way for me to start doing that.
Mm-hmm. And the more important point is there's no right answer. There's just what's right for you. And there's no right way to do it or wrong way to do it. There's just different options that you have to do it. But as long as you're using the funds for something productive, like investing or paying off your mortgage, it's a good use of funds.